Howdy BookTube, Nikki here. Very important announcement. Still wearing my pajamas. Hashtag I'm an adult. Today I'm bringing you my November wrap up, all the books that I read in November. This is a little bit late because I was away for part of November and then I got back at the end and I was like busy and stuff and life and work and things, so I didn't get a chance to do a wrap up, but I'm doing it now. It's all good in the hood. Let's go. Amazingly, I read 7 books in November despite the whole being away for 2 weeks thing. So the fact that I got through 7 books at all, pretty sweet. Go team. Moving on though, the first book that I read was Cress by Marissa Meyer. This is the 3rd book in the Lunar Chronicles series. The Lunar Chronicles series is a series of futuristic sci-fi fairy tale retellings. In the first book we were introduced to Cinder, who's a cyborg Cinderella type character. In the second book, Scarlet, we were introduced to Little Red Riding Hood. And in this one, we are hitting up Rapunzel for some story time. So by this book, we've got a whole ensemble already, and Cress makes a magnificent addition to that, and it's just really great and fun, and I love it. I think I gave the first book 4 stars because I enjoyed it, and it was good, but then, since then, it just keeps getting better and better. Like, I just love each book more and more, and Cress was no exception. 5 out of 5 stars for sure. The next book that I read was the one published after that book, but it's actually set before the whole series, and that is Fairest, also by Marissa Meyer. This is a prequel about Queen Lavanna, who is a total Rudy Patootie villain person. So this follows her, gives us some insight into her own growing up, teenage years type thing. I liked it a lot. It connected a whole bunch of dots and you're like, oh, I see now. Whoa. Marissa Meyer's put a lot of thought into this. However, it was kind of a little disjointed. Like, it kind of connected a lot of dots, but there wasn't a lot of fleshing out in between, and I kept losing track of like how much time had passed and how old characters were now. So it was a little confusing on that front, and I feel like if it had been fleshed out, that would have been resolved. I think that's my main problem. I gave this book 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but the format was kind of weird. Like, it's a weird teeny baby book in comparison to the 500-page Cress. And I feel like it could have been fleshed out. This is the first time we see Luna, which is a cool place. It's the moon, man. The moon. I think if it had been fleshed out, we could have seen more of individual characters, and we could see more of Luna, and it could have been a full-size book. I do definitely recommend it for people who like the series because you'll still like it. I enjoyed it. It made me want more. But that's okay because more is what I got when I picked up Winter, the last book in the series. So this came out in November. I had this slated in my brain for a December release. Like, what? I don't know where I got that idea. I don't know. Probably because I don't know when winter is in America because I'm ignorant and Australian. When does summer start? What is seasons? Anyway, this is a Snow White kind of retelling with Princess Winter, but of course we've got a whole ensemble now. The whole story is coming to a head, and this book is freaking breaking my thumb. It's really heavy right now. It's over 800 pages. I don't know how they do this because look how thick that is. Look how thick that is. This is 550 pages. This is 800 pages. Some sort of Time Lord technology they have now with books. What is this? But the whole story was just so completely captivating from the first page to the last page. When I wasn't reading this book, I was thinking about reading this book. What could possibly happen next? What have we learned so far? What am I going to do with my life when this series ends? We have 4 different fairy tale characters, 4 different girls, and Marissa Meyer has just created them so complexly and wonderfully and so amazingly different. We have tough as nails Cinder, we have the sharp-tongued Scarlet, we have the shy but determined Cress, and finally, we have the kind of weird but definitely warm-hearted Winter, and I love that we get these 4 different strong, amazing female characters that are so complexly different, and we see so many different types of strength represented, of like value and strength represented in these characters. 5 stars, 5 stars to the series. I love it. It's amazing. I want to hug it. But this is really heavy, so I need to put it down. After that, I read the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series, The Lost Hero. This series follows on from the Percy Jackson series, which is basically about a bunch of kids who have one of their parents as a god. basically. So they're demigods and they go to this whole camp thing, and it's a big thing, and I'm not going to explain it because you just need to read it. Go read it, please. This series follows those 5 books, so it's a new series. It happens in the same world, but some of the same characters are in this one, and it's the same camp and everything. But we're introduced to 3 new characters. We have Jason, who doesn't remember anything, who doesn't know who he is. We have Piper, who is really awesome, and I just love her. I love her Native American, like, heritage and how that's included, because especially as an Australian, I don't hear anything about that. Like, I hear about my own, you know, the native people of Australia and stuff, but I don't know much about Native American culture, so it's cool to get that. And then we have Leo, who is also really cool and reminds me of Marco from Animorphs, mostly because they're both really kind of like clever but funny. I was a bit hesitant coming into this one, to be honest, because a lot of people were like, oh, this is good, but it's no Percy Jackson. And then I read this and I'm like, I don't understand why you said that, because it's not trying to be Percy. Percy Jackson isn't even in this book. Like, calm down. Calm down. I really enjoyed reading it. I liked that it's building on the past series, but also doing some different things, and it doesn't negate what happened in the first series. My big pet peeve with sequels and sequel series is when something happens that completely undoes what the heroes achieved in the first books. Like, I call it the alien complex. 5 stars for sure. Totally recommend this series. The next book that I read was Obanewton by Isabel Carmody. She's an Australian author, and I met her at Oz Comic Con this month. I read this before I went, and I said, hey, sorry, I've only read the first of your books, even though the 7th one just came out. There was the final book, by the way. Last time I was like, is it the final book? I don't know. It is. It is. It is the final book. But I was like, I've only read the first one, and all these fanboys and girls who are waiting in line for you have read all of them. I'm sorry to be a crap fan. I didn't say that. But anyway, she was lovely and she signed it for me. And it says, welcome to my world. So this is a series that is set in the future, basically after nuclear fallout. So the world has killed each other with nuclear stuff. And there are these people that are born with different mental abilities as a result, basically, of the whole nuclear stuff. They don't like them. They're like, hey, you with brain powers, die by fire. Literally. But there's this place called Obanewton where the people there claim to experiment on these special people and with their abilities, and they come sometimes and see the council of the people in charge and say, hey, we'll take that one to our place and we'll give you some insight perhaps into their brain. So Elspeth is the main character. She has some brain power happening, and she gets discovered and taken to Obanewton, and it's said that you can't escape from there, but she's trying to get to the bottom of kind of what the heck is going on at Obanewton, because it's a weird place. This book moved fairly slowly. It took me a while to get through, even though it was quite short. Elspeth narrates it, and it's kind of detached. Like, I feel like it took me a while to really understand her, but she has this quiet courage that kind of comes through. So by the end, I didn't want to put it down, but it took a while to get to that point. So I gave it 3 stars overall, maybe 3.5. So I'm going to read the second book. I don't know if it's straight away, but I will read the second book, and that will be the decider whether I read the rest of the series. It has a lot of promise. After that, I read Hex Hall by Rachel Hawkins. I've read Rebel Belle, the first 2 books in that trilogy by Rachel Hawkins, and they were hilarious. So I was pretty excited to read this. I'd heard that it was really funny and just quite fun. There's a goober on the front of this book. Now that we've freed the book of blue tack goobers, this book is about a girl named Sophie, and she's a witch, and she's trying to do some spells, but she keeps getting seen and stuff, and that's not good. So she does a love spell, it goes wrong, and she gets sent to a reform school for magical peoples to go to learn to keep their mouths shut and not tell mortals what's going on. So it's like a boarding school, and it's magical. It's fairly tropey. That was my first impression of the book. I never totally got on board with the romance, because it felt rather tropey as well. He was like snarky and like saves her life, and it's a snark monster basically. So I wasn't too on board with that, but overall I enjoyed it. I read it super fast because I just wanted to get through it. There were some twists and turns I did not expect. Overall I really liked the twists and stuff, and I was like, what? The narration is pretty snappy and a bit snarky, and the dialogue is too, and so I enjoyed that aspect of it. Overall, I think I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars because I enjoyed it. It was a little bit tropey, but it was kind of like one of those movies you chuck on that you know you're just going to enjoy, even though you've seen similar stuff 100 times. You know, it's another rom-com or it's another chick flick or whatever. You know, this is one of those. So I'd recommend it for people who want to get themselves out of a book slump, because I'm saving the second book. I haven't got it yet, but I'm probably going to read the second book as part of like a readathon, or if I'm in a reading slump, because it's really quick to read, it's enjoyable, and it's, you know, it's fun. The last book that I read was It's Okay, I'm Wearing Really Big Knickers by Louise Renison. This is the second book in the Georgia Nicholson series. Basically, Georgia Nicholson is a really dramatic 14-year-old, and she keeps a diary, and this is her diary. And that's all you need to know. I really loved Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging the movie, so I got the book and I read it and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, and so I've started to collect the whole series. This is book 2 and it was pretty funny as well. I didn't find it as good as the first one. I think that's because I don't feel like Georgia has really endeared herself to me in this one. Which isn't the worst thing, because I get secondhand embarrassment in books, except that I don't care about Georgia Nicholson. So when something happens to her, I don't feel that secondhand embarrassment. I just feel the hilarity of the situation making me laugh, which is good. It's good. It's good stress relief. So I read this when I had a lot going on actually at the time, because I was like packing to leave and I was like organizing different things, and so I just read a little bit at a time, and they're really short diary entries, like some of them are just a couple of sentences, and it's just really fun. I think I gave it a 3 or 3.5 out of stars. What? It's not, you know, nothing substantial story-wise, but it is hilarious, and I am going to continue the series because I just want to see what other antics she pulls. It's quite funny. So those are the books that I read in November. As for December, I don't really have a lot planned. I'd love to try and finish the Skullduggery Pleasant series, which I began rereading in September. This is the last book in the series. It's the 9th book, and then after that there's a book of short stories and a side novel about some villains. So I'd love to get through that. That's obviously not a priority though, because like I've read them before and I don't mind being able to look forward to reading another Skullduggery Pleasant book. That's not the worst thing. So, whatever. I do feel like I haven't read a lot of comic books this year or graphic novels, which sucks. And my comic book TBR just keeps growing and I'm not reading any of them, even though I love comic books. What even? Currently, I'm in the middle of Runaways Deluxe Volume 3. So this is a comic called Runaways, and this is the giant volume editions, which collect a year's worth of comics, essentially. So this is the 3rd one. It's my favorite comic series ever, and I'm really excited about this one, especially because it crosses over with Young Avengers and Civil War, and Joss Whedon is a contributing person on it, so yay. Yay! So it's really fun. I'll talk more about it obviously when I'm done with it in my wrap up. I also literally just got a message on Goodreads from someone called, is it Joss Scribbles Reads or Joss Scribbles Reads? I don't know. Who's like, hey, do you want to buddy read Everything? I haven't even responded yet, but I might be reading Everything, it would seem. Maybe, by Nicola Yoon. So the only thing left to do now is to pick a book from TBR to D2. My TBR jar. I'm hoping that it gives me a short book, because I haven't talked about this, but I totally smashed my reading goal back in September. My reading goal for this year was 70 books. I read 52 books last year. So this year my goal was 70 and I smashed that out in September, and then I raised it to 85 and then I smashed that out, and then I'm on like 90 books or something, so I'm really close to 100. So I really want to get to 100 by the end of the year. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'd really like that. So I'm hoping for a short book, because not a long one. This is just a testament to how many books I have on my TBR, that there are so many things in here. Alright, we have Rock War by Robert Muchamore. I bought it because it was cheap and I liked his Cherub books. So it's been on my TBR for ages. It's actually been on my TBR probably since the start of this year. It's probably in that giant haul I did at the start of this year. So I'm keen to read it. It's a good pick. I'm happy with that. Yay! All that's left to do is stack all my books in a freaking pile and then show them to you. Oh my gosh. Not the biggest pile of the year, but pretty impressive for pretty much 2.5 weeks worth of reading, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, good times, good books, good life. Goodbye. I'm joking. I'm joking. Let me know in the comments below if you read any of those books or what you did read in November, because you should just tell me. Also, I finished Winter. I finished the Lunar Chronicles and now I need another series to read. So suggest some down below. I'm gonna go read some comic books now, so I'll see you next time. But in the meantime, I suggest a letter writing campaign where we all write a letter to my neighbour and ask him why he's using such a loud lawn mowing device in the hot blazing sun. I'm actually worried for his safety. It's like midday. The sun is out. It's Australia. He's gonna die. But yes, that's a really important, we should start a petition, change.org. Stop using lawn mowers in the middle of the day when people are filming or it's really hot. This is getting weird. I'm just gonna go. Have a good week.